Hey, SilverDFanng back with more YouTube reactions. Head been all weird. We got History Matters, the USA against Britain and France during the Suez Crisis. I'll be honest, I don't remember anything from this video. I think I liked it, but that's about it. Enjoy.
The Cold War saw the United...
Why? Okay, History Matters. Why did the U.S. side against Britain and France during the Suez Crisis?
States do everything it could to build an alliance of countries to oppose the USSR.
God,
Keeping
the
these allies
haircuts.
on board meant that the United States often had to make concessions. These concessions were not extended to Britain and France, though, during the Suez Crisis, throughout which the US threatened economic repercussions unless Britain and France
Oh, look at Square Lincoln. Square Lincoln looks adorable.
withdrew. So why was it then that the United States went against two close allies instead of just letting it slide? As you'll know, during the 1950s, Britain and France's empires were
Square
collapsing,
Napoleon.
and in Egypt, the British were trying to stick around for longer than the Egyptians wanted. And after the Egyptian monarchy was overthrown, the new rulers there were keen to make sure that the British left quickly. The Egyptians also wanted the Anglo-French Suez Canal Company to relinquish control over the canal to Egypt so it would have full control of its waterways and its revenues.
Yeah, let's be honest. Egypt didn't care about, like, the cultural... money. The Suez Canal is a money maker.
When the British refused this, Egypt's president Gamal Abdel Nasser seized control of the canal by force.
Ooh, absolutely.
To the east of
Thanks,
Egypt,
guy.
Israel was watching closely, since it also had a gripe with Egypt in that Nasser's government blocked Israeli ships from using this strait. To open them up again in late 1956, Israeli forces invaded and took all of this territory. Britain and France, despite knowing about and greenlighting the invasion beforehand, issued an ultimatum to both to leave the canal zone alone. And about 5 minutes later, both launched an invasion of Egypt. They took control of the canal zone and it looked like it was a done deal. The three invaders were internationally condemned, with both the USSR and...
No. What? Global powers invading and taking over a part of a country for corporate greed? No. Shocking.
USA agreeing that they'd gone too far. The United States demanded that Britain and France withdraw immediately, and President Eisenhower threatened financial sanctions unless this was done. And Britain and France promptly left with their tails between their legs and their international reputations damaged. So why was it then that the Americans didn't help or at least turn a blind eye? Well, the first reason was that the British government had promised the Americans that they weren't going to invade. And so, when they did, Eisenhower was pretty annoyed and refused to give Britain the benefit of the doubt. The second reason was that the US...
Yeah, if the US and the USSR agrees on something, you fucked up.
...was concerned with war breaking out in the Middle East. And Israel's role in the invasion meant that other Arab nations would have justification.
Remember when the US didn't want war in the Middle East and didn't want to cause more conflict? Yeah, not in my lifetime either.
...to wage war against Israel, which the US didn't want. There was also the concern in Washington that the invasion would see Nasser become a de facto leader of the anti-Western Middle East. The US, despite not being involved, was seen as partially culpable for the attacks, which meant that countries in the Middle East and Africa would turn to the USSR for support in case any former colonial power wanted to return. The third reason was that the United States didn't think that the invaders were going to succeed. Nasser had already blocked the canal, and so dragging the occupation out would mean that the West's reputation in the region would only get worse. The fourth reason was that the unilateral invasion undermined the West's claim to moral superiority over the communists. Just before Israeli troops entered Egypt, Soviet forces had brutally repressed...
You gotta remember, chat, in this time, it was all about global vibes. US still couldn't give a shit about, actually being a good person and, not evading shit. But they wanted to be seen morally superior to the USSR. So it was on vibes.
...the Hungarian revolt, which the US could now no longer condemn with the same force. The portrait of the Soviets and their allies being brutal occupiers no longer held the same weight. As such, the US had to make sure that the invaders left, ending some careers and making it clear that these two nations were no longer superpowers that could act of their own accord anymore. Thank you for watching, with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bizanet, Sky Chappelle, Kartoitska, Marcus Asner,
That was fun. Yeah, the Suez Canal is, to this day, still one of the most important ports in the world. Because it is the only way to get from Asia to Europe without going around Africa. And Egypt knows it. It is a moneymaker. Hey, thanks for checking out this video. Check me out on Twitch, SilverDFanng, 2 N's in Fang. Check me out on Twitter and Blue Sky under the same name. Also TikTok. Have a great night.